Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
You've written an intriguing book that takes us on a journey through your life. You know, it starts off in a place that many people are familiar with, growing up in a very religious household as a Jehovah's Witness. Now, people may not be familiar with that part as the religion, but everyone's grown up, or many people have grown up religious, and you begin this journey that slowly changes over time. Let's start with that part, because in the book, you talk about how you left America and moved to China to preach and to be a missionary. And China, for those who don't know, is one of the countries where it's illegal to do that. You're not allowed to preach religion to people. You're not allowed to be a missionary. So that takes a real level of belief. Why China, and why would you take that risk?
I think that there was probably, I mean, I had been raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so I did fully believe it. And I really did want to help people. My motives, in my own mind were pure, that I thought I was saving people's lives.
Right.
But I think also there was probably some latent thing in me where I wanted an adventure. Because when you're a Jehovah's Witness, as most of you probably know, a lot of people don't open their doors
or
slam the doors. And so, that gets a little tiresome after a while. So I think that was part of it too. And, if you went to a country where no one had ever preached before, it feels like fresh territory. It's like you got new blood.
Right. It's an interesting world that you take us into. What's really beautiful, though, is when you start witnessing the changes, because you go out to be a missionary to these people out there, to tell them about being a Jehovah's Witness. And in a strange way, it's almost like they start converting you, because you meet people who tell you about the world. You meet people who show you a different perspective. And that started to shift your views on religion. In what way?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Hometown. But in China, more people would listen to what I had to say. And I think being in a different language and a different culture, it kind of really disoriented me. And even learning Chinese, I learned Mandarin. Learning that language, it's not just like a language where you can just translate from English. You really have to kind of excavate your mind and change the way you think in order to speak it. But also, there was the strange side effect of being in this country where, as we all know, there's not a lot of freedom. But for a Jehovah's Witness in China, there was a lot of freedom, because the organization anywhere else in the world is very structured and quite insular, and you have a lot of meetings and preaching that you do. And in China, because the work is done secretly it's under ban there, suddenly I just had a lot more freedom and time on my own, and also the opportunity to meet people and talk more deeply with them, people who weren't Jehovah's Witnesses.
Honestly, when you look at your life now, you left the religion. And one of the hardest parts of leaving the religion was how you were cut off from your family and your society. It feels like that in of itself lends itself more to being culty than other mainstream religions in a way. Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think there's a scene in the book where one of the characters tells me I'm in a cult. And I react very strongly. I felt really angry, and I was adamant that wasn't true.
Right.
But it was when I started to have doubts and questions and started to leave. I think when you try to leave a group and then strange things start happening, that can be when it starts to occur to you that maybe you might have been in a cult. I mentioned a couple things, maybe some doubts that I had, and very quickly my community just shed me as a person. And that's quite a big thing for people who have been taught to build their life around a community. So that felt strange. And then I think the further, I got one step away after that happened, and the further I got away from it, I would start to see other things, examine other things, like the thoughts for harm. So, for example, Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in taking blood transfusions, even if it saves your life. And so that's caused thousands of deaths. So that's when I started to think about that more, with a little bit of distance, it started to me feel like it's not that much different than drinking Kool-Aid if people are dying unnecessarily. So there's little signs along the way that started to make me feel that it was a group that was not really a positive, didn't have a really positive effect on a lot of people.
When we look at this journey, you are traveling into a religion, through a religion, and then out of the religion. The one question I always have for people is, what do you then replace that with in your life? Where have you turned to since then? I mean, you talk in the book about suffering tragic loss. You lost a child.
Yeah.
Many people would lean on religion in those moments. What have you now turned to in your life to replace that stability?
Yeah, I think that when we go through difficult times or tragedies, the impulse, there's some instinct in us as humans is to look outward, to try and look for something to absolve or like to heal the pain. And when you no longer believe, for me, it wasn't a choice to believe anymore. Once I believed and then kind of like just scales fell from my eyes, to use a biblical term, and then didn't, it wasn't possible for me to just return and believe something again.
Right.
So I think the big thing that comes to mind is that when I was in the religion, I felt like I had the answers to every question, like anything. Why do we die? Why is there suffering? And then that felt really meaningful, like my life had meaning. But when you leave the religion and you realize that those answers weren't true, well, if an answer isn't true, then it's not meaningful. So basically, when you have some future hope that you no longer believe in, what do you have? You don't have a fictional future in front of you. You have what's in front of you now. And for me, and as far as when my son died, the thing with, when we do look at the world, there's also pain. There's no denying that. But even I think that the pain that, of course, I carry with me due to the loss of my son, the flip side of that grief is the depth of the love that I had for him. And so to me, I think when I consider that love of the mother and the child, it really is a transcendent love. And I experienced that love without religion. So to me, I think that life just has meaning inherently. It's just that I've traded in maybe the future for the now.
It's a beautiful journey, and it's a really powerful book with some wonderful insights. Thank you so much for being on the show. Wonderful having you here. Leaving the Witness is available now. Emma Scorer, everybody.